In this video, we're going to talk about the video key pairing system on the MLS-X1 switcher and how you can name and map sources on your panel. So to start with, in the System VK Pair menu, we can go through our sort of engineering level setup, which is physical input sources in this case, and their appropriate key source, which in most cases is going to be white for cameras or anything that doesn't have its own key signal, like a graphics engine. You can see here we've got video 1 is camera 1, video 2 is camera 2, and then we've got some VT servers, server A, server B, etc. Then I'm going to go to the crosspoint assign menu and to VK pairing here, which is where we get to what we call logical VK pairing. That essentially begins one-to-one, and it's a kind of way we can do some basic source patching, and that allows you as an operator to adjust the order that sources come into you without changing the engineering side if you're, say, in a fixed studio or truck setup. So in this case, logical VK number 1 is attached to physical VK number 1, and so on and so forth. But if for whatever reason I wanted to bring a different source in as logical VK4, say I've built a setup somewhere else or I'm familiar with certain numbering, I can assign a different physical video key pairing, say input 30. And now logical video key 4, or what will be referred to as video key 4 from this point onwards, is actually physical video key 30. That way the engineering side doesn't change, but as an operator I can have a layout that I'm more comfortable with, perhaps from another facility or a previous show. Now, moving into logical VK pair naming, I can also overwrite the name of each of those. And on the MLS-X1, I can actually have 3 sets of names depending on what I'm doing. So a logical VK pair name for me, and also 2 alias names. So for example, on the panel at the moment, I have camera 1, 2 and 3. And as an operator, I might prefer just to have 1, 2 and 3. But instead of changing the main logical VK pair name that other people might use or might be set up for some other show, I'm going to change alias 1. So over here, I'm going to clear that name out. In fact, I'm going to clear all 3 names out, and I'm going to use a handy extra feature built into the MLS, which is auto numbering. And if I select the top 3 and type 1 on that one and hit enter, you'll see the system's put 2 and 3 in place for me. This also works on the end of some characters. So say I did camera 1, the rest of them will go camera 2, camera 3. But I'm just going to go with 1 for now. And the system's neatly done that. You'll see at the moment the panel hasn't changed because which name we use is related to the table we choose. So let's move on to tables. Table assign is very similar to previous Sony switches if you've used them. Each bus can have a separate table assigned, but we have a new option here for the panel display name. In this case, on Program Preview, we're on Table 1, and I'm going to go to Alias 1 in the menu, and you'll see that the sources here on the left of the panel have changed to the names we just typed in. As for assigning buttons, it works very similar to previous iterations of Sony switchers. We've got 14 crosspoint tables available, and the buttons are listed here. On each button, I can choose exactly what's there, so I could change it to my 4th source. On the first one, which has changed to A now, and I can go back to camera 1. I can also inhibit a source like that, and it will vanish, and I can do that anywhere along the panel if I'd like to insert a gap. You can see over in the table assign menu, I can switch instantly between different naming systems on the panel, and that can be recorded within a menu macro as well, should I need to change it mid-program. A nice feature of the logical VK system is the ability to duplicate sources more than once. Perhaps if I wanted to substitute one version of a camera but not the other for a match and world feed presentation situation, or any other situation where I want one source to be used for 2 purposes and maybe labeled as 2 different things on the panel. So for example, I could actually bring camera 1 in twice in my logical VK pair assigning if I wanted to do so, which I'm going to do now. So you can see both 1 and 2 are actually camera 1, but I could call that camera 10 if it's also on the same cable going to be camera 10. And then that way, I can also label it as such and give it 10. I've actually got the same source twice on the panel, which is me, but labeled as 2 different things and tallied as 2 separate sources. Now there's a few other things we can do with our sources in the VK menu, and a really important one that you'll see on our panel is source colouring. So over here I can go to logical VK pair colour, and you can see that each logical VK pair has a user colour. So with my extra camera 10 I've just created, I'm going to make it user color 3 to differentiate it. And you can see that change is reflected immediately on the panel OLEDs. Or maybe user color 4, or even pink user color 8. Those colors are set in the edit user color menu here, and I've got 8 options. And they're a really easy way to group sources visually on the panel. So I'm going to tweak that one a little bit to make a sort of, let's go for a green type color. And once I apply that, you can see that the button there has changed to that green color I've just created. One last thing with VK pairing is if we go to a key menu, which I'm going to do by double popping a key, you can see up here the fill and source boxes give us a little more information now about what's on that key. You can see what's selected on the key bus, but also on the source side you can see the video and key bracketed underneath. So if I was to change that source to something like camera 1 there, we'd see, and then go back, that's been reflected there, and we can see that white is still the key source there. If that was a graphics engine, the bracketed text there would show me that it was the key signal for that graphic. So if I go to graphics 1, you can see that graphics 1K is now in the brackets, and I can see really clearly as an operator on that menu exactly what's driving that key, both fill and key side. So I hope that's a good overview of what we can do with video key pairing on the MLS-X1 and how to set up the switcher just how you like it.